Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Rocket League Ireland podcast. And assuming that you are blessed with the gift of sight, you'll be able to see that this one is, of course, about tournaments and just all things tournaments. And to, I suppose, be a bit more, non-specific again, we're going to talk about events in general. Now, I will stress that we're going to ignore LANs for now because we've already done a podcast on that. That one's done. That went well. So this is mainly about online tournaments. And it's something that I think, in terms of a Rocket League Ireland context, is really, really important for us to talk about and to let you know what we're thinking at all times, because tournaments really is one of the more important things that we do. And you're not sure that I said we and, what we think, what our opinions are. And that's because, as usual, I'm not on my own. I am joined, I'm delighted to say, by fellow Rocket League Ireland admin, Enwrong.
Hello, Ford. Thank you very much for the lovely warm intro, as always. Looking forward to discussing this. I love our online tournaments as much as you do, and as I'm sure as most of the community do. So not a bad person to bring in, I would say. Thank
you. yeah. No, I really do like our tournaments. They're kind of the biggest thing. They keep the community active and keep it alive. So it's important to mention. So just to not talk about Rocket League Ireland for a moment, just to talk about tournaments in general. They generally are very, very good for a community. You look at certain places, and a lot of them are tournaments only, and literally the only reason they have active people in their Discord and chatting away and all that is because they do tournaments. And I think the good thing about tournaments is it's sort of a focus. It's a one-day event, and it brings a lot of people together. And I mean, I don't know about you, Enwrong, but I just feel that there's a really big sense of community around the tournaments, especially, or just, not especially, but when it is online, there's still a big element of, this is a community, and this is a lot of people with the same interest and hobby.
Absolutely. You're here playing the one game, and everyone wants to, show up in this one environment and beat the people around them. That's not meant to be in a bad way. They want to really show up and say, look, I'm the best. This is my time. I'm here to win this. But people are there as well to help each other out, comfort each other, and have a bit of crack with each other as the end of the day for it, because that's what people are here for. They're here to have fun. You wouldn't be playing the game if it wasn't fun. If it was just a game where you're like, oh, okay, I have to win this, get boring very quickly. And there are a lot of games out there like that. And I'm sure you'll agree with me and say that a lot of these guys play the game just to speak with the other guys that have the same interest as them. And it's all about the community at the end of the day, and it's very, very enjoyable, the tournaments, to see who does what.
Yeah, no, that's very, very true. I think one of the things that really makes tournaments a lot of fun is there's always bragging rights on the line. If people know each other, even the slightest amount, there's always just a little bit of bragging rights going on. Who's going to win, who's going to do better than the other person, and it's always really, really funny to see. I suppose that adds to the general vibe, I guess, around the tournament is, there's always that sense of, oh, what's going to happen this time? Am I going to beat you? Are you going to beat me? It does bring, an element of rivalry to some extent, but at the same time, good-natured rivalry.
Absolutely. Guys want to be able to go onto Twitch and clip their clips afterwards of the best passing play, the best shot, the best ceiling shot, the moment when your mate backflipped the net and you can have a good laugh at him, but it's all fun and games at the end of the day, and people just want to go out there, take home the prize, take home the cup, take home the keys, and it's all about, at the end of the day, just showing up and showing off, essentially. And a lot of the guys just want to be able to say, well, look at you in that last tournament, you didn't play particularly well, pressure's on you now, and that'll get in the other player's mind as well, but not in a bad way or anything like that. It's more of, oh, I wonder will this guy actually show up this time, and it's going to play on his head. It's going to be eating away at him as he goes up for an aerial, or whether he considers dribbling the ball. It's that kind of stuff, and it's really, really fun. There's a lot of hype with that kind of stuff, and the expectations as well, some living up to it, some not. Just all these little things, and it adds to the community. It adds to the storyline for it. It's like a WWE storyline, Can this guy do this? Can this guy not do this, etc. And I really enjoy that part of the tournaments. They're really fun to watch these guys going off with each other, both contesting a nice fast aerial.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's definitely much more of a sort of a personal element to a tournament than it is to your regular competitive play. It has to be said at the same time, you do need people to go and organise a tournament. You can't just assume it'll exist out of thin air. And there does come one or two difficulties with that, I'm sure, as you'll know, especially. Mainly with just getting people willing to help, getting someone who's able to stream the tournament and these kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing you got to think about is the people around you and what their skill sets are and how you can use these to make a successful tournament. So that's the first thing. So you got to look at who's willing to help you out with a tournament, who's willing to set up brackets, who's willing to do the MMR sheets, who's willing to look at the prize pools, etc., and think about that. So first and foremost, again, it's a people thing where you basically consider everyone's skill sets and try and implement them as best you can. Then you have to really think about the tournament format. Look, is this going to be a 1v1? Is it going to be 2v2, 3v3? Are we going to incorporate Xbox or even PlayStation? And then you have to look at the number of people who are actually playing for it. I mean, it's easy to have a tournament with 40 people, because the more numbers we have, the more stuff we can do with a tournament like that. Yeah. And then you obviously have to look at the rule sets. That's another topic for later on, but the rule sets as well. Thinking about the requirements, the specific things. If a certain thing happens, like a disconnect or what stadiums to play on, because you don't want to be playing on, pillars.
True. Yeah.
And also, yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree. There's a lot of factors in general to kind of bring in. And, we haven't even started talking about, the streaming or how to deal with someone even breaking the rules. So there's a lot, I think, in general that has to be thought through. And I think sometimes if you're only a player, it's not always something that you appreciate or you even think about, because you just go, oh yeah, new tournament, I'll sign up, done. And you never think about it again. So I think it may open one or two people's minds here about, what goes on in the background a bit. And I guess specifically talking about Rocket League Ireland, though, we do pretty well for the most part. I don't think we've ever had to properly stop someone from entering a tournament. We've had one or two people who are non-Irish enough to say, sorry, this tournament isn't for you. But in terms of people eligible, we haven't had to, say, no, sorry, you're not getting in. And I think that's really, really good to say as a community. We've never really had any trouble that way. And it does help with the whole tournaments bringing people together aspect of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I think that they were really flexible, as anyone will tell you. And it's always at the tournament admin's discretion as well, whether he can, possibly bend the rules for a certain thing or whatever. Maybe change one or two things for an Irish person. At the end of the day, if you're Irish, we're going to make exceptions here and there for you, because at the end of the day, this is Irish Rocket League, And yeah, you mentioned, of course, we've had guys in the past who weren't able to sign up to tournaments. We've had guys come along, sign up for a tournament, even though they were Smurfs, etc. So, yeah, generally we've had no problems with tournaments and the rules and stuff. And yeah, I mean, the other thing you really got to consider is, look, we're always there to answer questions about tournaments as well. You just got to tag us in the Discord or ask us on Facebook or even on Twitter. We got Walshy running the Twitter. He's really active with that. So we're always there to help out with these things. But mainly, there isn't really an easiness with the tournaments. There's always a bit of difficulty here or there. Myself and Darcy like to play it down, but in fact, it's quite time consuming, and you don't really get to see it until you actually do it.
Yeah, no, that's true. It does take up our time to some extent, and I guess it's part of the reason as to why we do only one every 2 weeks, is because it takes a lot of time, and we have other commitments. We have a life beyond Rocket League Ireland, believe it or not. So it does take time, but it's pretty enjoyable. It's pretty rewarding when you do a tournament, and even one person comes up to you at the end of the day and goes, "Thanks, that was great," or "Nice stream," whatever. It's always really, really good to hear that kind of stuff, and. We're called Rocket League Ireland for a reason, or possibly RL Ireland at this point. It's somewhere in between the two, but we're all about promoting Irish Rocket League. That's the big thing. So it's really nice that we're not just a regular tournament hosting area. The likes of Rival, Rewind, Rocket League Hub are trying to get into that area too. We're a bit more than that. We are a genuinely community that people stick around to, and I think the main reason for that is because we have the tournaments every 2 weeks. It brings people back who sometimes weren't getting as involved in the last couple of weeks or month or so.
No, absolutely. You couldn't have said it better, or I couldn't have said it better myself. At the end of the day, I look at all these other Discords for it, and you can probably count on one hand how many people are active in a Discord at a given moment. If you look at our Discord, especially after, say, 8 or 9 o'clock at night, you will literally see 10 to 15 people in a chat room or across 2 chat rooms in our Discord in comms with each other. And I think that says a lot for our community and for the tournaments that we run, etc. as well. I think we're the only ones that really have that ability to generate that many people in the run room.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, I shamelessly join a lot of Rocket League related Discord servers just to see what they're like, just to see what's going on. And half the time there is no one in any of the chat rooms, and it is kind of disappointing to some extent. Whereas you look at Rocket League Ireland, and it's very rewarding to see that there are people just sitting there chatting away. And yeah, I'd say a lot of that does come down to the tournaments. So to any newcomers, I guess, Enwrong, we haven't really sort of addressed these guys. Any newcomers, or to anyone who's maybe been around a long time but hasn't entered a tournament yet, just to explain our bi-weekly system real quick. I'll let you take the lead on this.
Yeah, the biggest thing is for it, as you know, and as us admins know, is it's just too much effort to have tournaments every week. And not just from an effort point of view as well, but it also gets stale and very boring very, very quickly and very tedious even. Yeah. And even if you ask people, look, can you sign up this week? We can't go around asking all of our members to sign up every week because they don't have time. I mean, Rocket League can't take up all of their time. You know, people have lives as well at the end of the day. And we are a great community, but you have to always consider what's going on outside of Rocket League. So we devised the bi-weekly system a small while back where we basically said, look, in our meeting just before the new year, what we're going to do from now on, outside of show match tournaments, for our normal 2-tier tournaments, we're going to run one twice a week from here on in. And the way that does it is that gives people a break to go, look, sit down, relax, have a weekend to yourself. And what it also does for it, as I'm sure you'll agree with me, it gives people the chance to work on certain mechanics and plays and their rotation, bring them out to the next tournament so that, you know, they can come back and say, look how much I've improved. Bet you didn't see that coming.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really great because, you know, I've been involved in most of the tournaments in some capacity or another, and it's really, really nice to see that certain people are sort of climbing the ranks. And you noticed, oh, their MMO has gone up by a solid, 100, 150 since the last one. That's really good to see. It's really, really good. And then, of course, what I think is really interesting, especially for us as Rocket League Ireland, we get very different tournaments between the different game modes, the 1v1, the 2v2, and the 3v3, because on certain tournaments you go, oh, this guy's a shoe-in, this guy's definitely going to win. And then a certain one you go, I have absolutely no clue. There's easily 4 or 5, well, maybe not 4 or 5, but easily 2, 3 teams that could take this. And it's just really interesting to see how the sort of sign-ups work out and how individual people play better on certain game modes. But we are here to talk about the tournaments and the sort of more organising aspect of things. And you have to say, Enwrong, there is still that same kind of differences between the game modes.
Yeah, just the game modes as a whole. I mean, ones is just 1v1, you know, it's you versus the other guy in the team. 2v2 is a bit of teamwork involved. 3v3 is where real teamwork and real strategy comes into it. From an organizational point of view for tournaments, ones is easy. Anyone knows that, you know. They're really easy tournaments to run as well for the most part. You just sign up, we check your rank, we put you into a tier based off of that. It's very simple. There's no requirements, you just have to be Irish. That's very simple. Okay. Whereas 2v2s, then 4 and 3s, as you know, we've had to devise a system where we've made it fair for Irish people, but also non-Irish people to help bolster our numbers quite a bit. And as you know, that's where the 100 MMR rule comes in.
Yeah, no, that was a big deal because I think a lot of people were pushing for that, and I think a lot of people were quite happy when we introduced that. And to be honest, I had no problem with it. Just to, I guess to explain, because I know it was a couple of weeks ago at this point, but just as a bit of a late explanation, the reason we were very worried about bringing in those rules is we didn't want just some foreign top 100 player just coming in and absolutely smashing everyone out the way. That was the real concern. That was the nightmare situation for us. So we did think long and hard about the rules and about what we were going to do, how we were going to balance that out. And I think we have a pretty good system at the moment of, if you're non-Irish, you can be 100 MMR above in a 2v2 and 150 MMR above in a 3v3, because that way you're not really carrying them. You just happen to be a little bit better, and I think we've hit a nice balancing point right now, and I think a lot of people are happy with that, has to be said.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. The main requirement is, look, in the 2v2, 3v3, if you're non-Irish, you have to have an Irish teammate. 1 in 2s, 1 in 3s. And once you have that, we're happy enough. You have to show that you're actually playing with an Irish guy. You can't just come in and sign up. And it's helped a lot with obviously bringing in numbers. I mean, the last 3v3 tournament, was it our most successful one for it? I think we had like a
I
load of
believe it
teams.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did pretty well.
Now the 2v2 tournament most recently had quite a poor number of teams or showing. I think it was only like 9 in the end, which wasn't great. But that's just happened sometimes with people being busy and stuff and so on. And obviously there was the RLCS that weekend as well. But yeah, it really bolsters the number. The biggest thing with those then, of course, is checking for Smurfs as well. We don't want that forehead. We have to obviously go around and check. Look, if this guy has no ranks before season 7, okay, why is that? So we go into his Steam profile, we check his number of hours, and we basically make a determination and say, look, okay, this guy isn't Irish. He doesn't have the hours in the game. Is he a Smurf? And that's quite important, again, just to make sure that we don't have the nightmare situation where we have a marquee dude coming in just for the keys and winning and smashing everyone out of the ballpark.
Yeah, no, that's true. That we are trying our hardest to avoid that, and that is sometimes why we're maybe a little bit slow implementing a rule or whatever else, because we want to get it right, and we want to get it right first time if we can. But yeah, it's funny. I think one of the funniest examples is someone said they were Irish on their Smash GG account, and then were blatantly from I think it was the Netherlands on their Steam, and you just went, no, sorry, that's not going to
Oh,
happen.
that
So
guy,
we
yeah,
do
yeah.
we do get some interesting cases like that from time.
Yeah, if you ever see that guy online, lads, make sure you go onto his profile and minus rep him. But
No, no, no. I don't want to. I don't want to call out people. I don't want to start a witch hunt. But you do get some funny cases where people are blatantly just trying to get in because they want to get into tournaments, and we are trying to promote Irish Rocket League. That is the main focus, so we do have to turn those guys down. Uh, but it's funny. The one thing I think, no matter what game mode we're playing, from an organizing point of view, we always get the same numbers on Twitch. It's really, really nice to see. We always get a good turnout on Twitch. Even during DreamHack, we organised a tournament during DreamHack, which is really stupid, but basically because we're just sticking to our regular timetable. And we still got 20, 25 viewers for most of the tournament. It was amazing, and to some extent, that I guess all I can say is a big thank you to the guys who play and to the guys who watch, because it was really good to see that there was definitely a hunger and a desire for specifically Irish Rocket League.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it says it all really about the community. We have our hardcore fans. As you know, for it now, we have, what have we got? 5 subscribers on Twitch. A lot of followers. We've nearly broken 200 followers, I think, which is really impressive. I mean, we have a hardcore following. Let's be honest now at this stage. We're a bit like Digital Bacon and his hardcore following as well of people. We have a hardcore following who literally turn up for pretty much every stream, which is really good to see. And I mean, I really appreciate that. It warms my heart, and yeah, I love seeing that.
No, it is. It's absolutely amazing when you see the numbers come in and you go, wow, we've done something well. I think the most impressive one, though, is just to give some numbers. It'll sound like I'm bragging here, and to a small extent I am. But our Discord server has approximately 250 people. I think a little bit more. I think we're near 300, but we're not quite there. Me and Enwrong are part of the Enwrong, or the Rewind Gaming Discord server, which has got about 1,400, 1,500 members on Discord. Now, we both stream tournaments, and the obvious guess would be Rewind gets more views, but not at all. We get approximately 25 viewers every time we stream. That's a rough guess, but that's kind of fair enough. Rewind Gaming, they get about 12. They get roughly half of what we do, and at least 5 or 6 of those viewers will probably be staff members. Now, I'm not trying to call out Rewind. I'm not saying they're doing a bad job. They're incredibly nice guys who put on really, really good tournaments. But it just shows how much you guys kind of like the tournaments, and it's really, really nice to go, okay, what we're doing is very, very worthwhile. And of course, Enwrong, you are also part of Rewind. I mean, is there anything really you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, look, they had a bit of a hard time during January, and I was actually talking to both Bucketman and who's the other guy, Poison, about it as well. And it was funny because the one stream I came on for there most recently went back up to like 40 viewers, and they were like, "We need you to cast more," and I'm like, but yeah, I mean, they kind of struggle with the numbers, but that's because they don't have a hardcore following as such. Again, they're just an org, they're more of an org than a community. I guess I'm not really sure why they're struggling so much with numbers. They've scrapped their 2v2 tournaments as well because they were community funded rather than prize pools, etc. The 3v3 tournament's absolutely brilliant, though. I mean, for anyone who's looking to do tournaments outside of Rocket League Ireland, I would highly recommend it because you have a good chance of getting to the quarterfinals more often than not if you play well. So, yeah, but just on that, I think the biggest thing is with our tournaments, we've got a good following, and obviously you guys help keep that up. So just keep it coming. We'll get the occasional views as well from America. Bacon raided us the last day. Unfortunately, I had to cut the stream off 5 minutes after that. But yeah, we've a good following, and let's keep that going.
Yeah, that's a fair point. What you said though about the rewind 3v3s. Just to correct myself, I think the numbers I was talking about with the 12, 15-ish viewers, that was probably the 2v2s.
It's 2v2, yeah.
I think the 3v3s get a little bit more, but in terms of like, if you made a percentage out of it, I don't know what it would be, but I don't think it's as high as what we get, which is really, really impressive. But to move away from the streams and a bit more the nitty gritty organising, we do have the awkward thing, which I'm sure a few people watching this will be screaming out for us to talk about. PS4 versus Xbox. It's a genuine conundrum, and sadly, the two consoles can't get together. They won't agree to cross play or cross platform with each other. So it does make organising these things a little bit difficult, and we do try our best to keep it as even as possible. But Enwrong, you're maybe a little more involved with this than I am, so I'll let you take the lead.
Yeah, as far as I know, Sony are the main culprits here. I'm fairly certain that Sony won't sign an agreement with Microsoft. Microsoft said they were happy, as far as I'm aware. Psyonix put up a tweet about a year ago saying Microsoft are happy. Sony are the ones stopping it at the moment in time. So hopefully soon enough we'll be able to have cross-platform parties in a game, but it'll never be PlayStation and Xbox, unfortunately, because as far as I'm aware, Sony have stopped that idea. But the reason why it stops our tournaments mainly is because obviously we can't have both of them. And we really have to devise an idea or a system whereby, look, we divide it pretty much almost evenly between the two consoles. Now, the reality is at the moment, Xbox generally bringing more players, or sorry, PlayStation bringing more players than Xbox, and generally speaking, they're of a decent level as well. The only real Xbox player we have are really Charlie Phillips and Lawler, who are of a decent rank. Whereas PlayStation, you'd have DJ Scribe and a couple of others, yeah? But PlayStation always bring in more numbers for the tournaments anyway, so that's the biggest conundrum we have. So what we've done is we basically just split the tournaments pretty much down the middle for it. Maybe one a month, or two a month for a platform, and then we do the exact opposite then for the next month with these guys. Basically saying, look, this month will be Xbox for 1v1, but PlayStation will get the 2v2. Next month 3v3 for Xbox and PlayStation and 2v2, and then PlayStation will get the 1v1 and 2v2 the following month. So that's kind of the situation we're in now. Guys, you might have seen on the Discord as well, we released the calendar as well recently, as well, which basically shows you what console is going to be playing what. So you can prepare for this as well. We're not going to release it at the last second. If you really want to get ahead of the game, because I know a couple of guys like Charlie Phillips on Xbox really love playing the tournaments, just have a look at the calendar and it'll basically say which platform is playing. But yeah, it kind of comes down to the guys who sign up, and generally speaking, Xbox seem to have a lot of the guys signing up on the forums. But when it comes down to people signing up in the tournaments, PlayStation always have more numbers, and that's just the way it's going. So PlayStation are always going to have slightly more tournaments.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really weird one, that, but it does seem to be the case, yeah, that PS4 guys, they do sign up when we ask them to. But yeah, we're doing our best to keep it as even as possible, and in the past we've got the occasional messages, oh, you haven't done an Xbox tournament in a month, when's the next one? And to some extent it's a fair comment, but I do ask that you do try and keep it polite. Just try and remember that, we are human beings, and we are trying to do our best to keep it even. There's no need for any of this, you don't like Xbox and whatever else, because it does happen. Now, I do want to address one thing, which I've literally just thought of now. The Switch. The Switch is an interesting one. As far as I'm aware, there is literally one player in Rocket League Ireland who plays on the Switch, so I doubt we will see a tournament open to the Switch anytime soon. But if there suddenly becomes this burst of Irish Switch players, then it's something we'll have to look into and consider. But for right now, we don't do tournaments with those guys because it's just too much of a niche. It's just too new, and I don't think there's enough of a player base.
Very niche market indeed. It's a very particular type of console. I mean, like, ideally, what we'd love for everyone to do is to move on to PC, but of course, for finances and other reasons, it's probably just not possible for some of you guys. But PC would eradicate all the issues straight away because it's just so much easier. And it's higher tech as well, but that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, that's a slightly different topic. But so we'll move on to another bit of the tournaments that we haven't really talked about, which is the prize pools. Because
Yeah.
The one thing that I find really interesting, right, before we go into the nitty gritty how it works, we don't do massive prize pools, and at the same time, we still get very good turn ups. We do get nice sign ups and whatnot, and it's really good to see the prize pool clearly isn't the main factor in people signing up. So there's definitely some respect from myself, at least, for the guys who sign up and go, don't worry about the prize, it's not the biggest deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just coming into that, how many guys actually come to us at the end of a tournament and go, "Can we get the prize pool, please?" I'd say less than half. Some of them just don't care. They don't even want the prize. So we obviously had a stipulation saying, look, because Darcy was getting a little bit peed off about, having to chase people about prizes because they never actually take them then. So basically, if you want your prizes, you just have to message us, and we'll obviously give them to you then. But yeah, the way the prizes work, guys, is pretty simple. The old and main admins and ops, so there's 7 of us in total, we fund the prizes, 6 per month per member. So that comes across to what, 72 a year? My maths isn't absolutely atrocious for it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's 72 per
72 a
person,
year.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. 72 a year per person. So that's 6 per month. So basically that's 21 per tournament per month if there's only 2 tournaments a month, which there is most months. Yeah. So that obviously helps a lot with us. It's basically 70 euro a year is what we're giving out, which sounds like quite a lot, but in the hindsight of things, when you do per month, it's actually not that much, which is pretty easy for us. So obviously, one of the things we look at is, look, can we get donators? And obviously with Twitch at the moment, fantastic. We got our first 5 subscribers, 4 of them in the one day. I think Ghost subscribed to the most recent one as well, so that's really handy for us. Once we bring in 100 euro of revenue, I think we can start accessing that fund. So that'll give us another revenue stream to tap into as well. And we got other ideas as well for prize pools coming down the line, which you don't have access to yet. But the prize pools, as you said, look, it's not the number one factor clearly with our hardcore audience, which is fantastic. But obviously, prize pools are the ones that attract the bigger players, like It's Pure Logics, Mike Rules and stuff, who, the former has recently joined the Discord.
Yeah, no, that's true. But in terms of prize pools, it is solely funded by us. I guess there were jokes at the start, I think, of, a Rocket League Ireland budget and all this. There's no such thing. It really is just the 7 of us because we agreed to do that at the start. So yeah, there's really not much to it in that sense. We do our best essentially. We don't want to go out the way and break the bank purely for a hobby, but it's not a bad thing at the same time. It's not a ton of money, and it's a little bit of incentive for you guys. So I think that's pretty much it. The Twitch thing is, of course, interesting. If we do get a lot of people subscribing, which I'm not hugely asking for. I mean, it'd be great, but I'm not putting people under pressure to do so. But if we did get the subs, we'd be able to boost the prize pool and so on. So we may have to look at a little 1 or 2 interesting ways to try and fund that. But I think moving on from the prize pools to something which we do every now and again, which doesn't always include a prize pool, are the proper show matches and the very different kind of events that we do. People seem to be taking to them really, really well, Enwrong, and they usually get a lot of hype going for what can be, just a midday a midweek tournament, a midweek stream.
Yeah, we had our 6-man tournament. If you remember that forehead, I think it was the 6 highest rated 3v3 players at the time that were available, which were Red Eyes, Fusher, Lawler, Mug, Barzy, and Mayday, which was a really fun thing to watch. Remember, we were casting that. That was so hype. That was amazing to watch. And obviously, we most recently, myself and Tully, did the 12 Titans finals as well as the qualifiers, which drew a huge number of people, which was really good. Yeah, I mean, look, these tournaments they're also kind of, I would say, almost as well as our bi-weekly tournaments, the bread and butter of what we do, because they bring along something fresh, something new, something innovative, and they really bring in the numbers. I mean, I get asked quite regularly, when are we going to do a drop shot tournament? Are we going to do a hoops tournament? What about an ice hockey tournament? A puck tournament, whatever it's called. And we're like, maybe an idea for another time. And you're right, they are the kind of things that make people go, people who are just want to relax and, have a bit of a laugh. And again, it comes back forehead. The number one reason with these tournaments, and I think you'll agree with me on this, it's all about the people.
Yeah.
And that's what makes everyone happy, and they just want to play it with the people who are their friends with, people who they want to make jokes with.
Yeah, 100%. No, I mean, it does or don't come down to the community and what they want to see. So if obviously you guys have been liking the regular tournament every 2 weeks, but if there's something a little bit different or a little bit extra, and there's enough people that go, hey, we want a hoops tournament, we want a rumble tournament, whatever, then it's something we can absolutely consider in the future. It just, it's all about the feedback to some extent. The more we hear from you guys, the more suggestions we get from you guys, the more ideas we have, and potentially the more different tournaments we can do. And I think that's the key thing, is there's only a limited amount of us within the staff who can sort of make that happen. We're not going to come up with all the ideas in the world. So the more we get from you guys, the more different ideas, then the better. I mean, someone could have some crazy idea about, okay, let's do a slow-mo tournament where everything's in slow-mo. Now, I'm not saying that would be, the prime example, but it's hopefully it gives you an idea of what I mean by the more ideas, the better. If you guys think of an interesting format, then we can have a look at it, see if it's realistic, and try and implement that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're flexible for it, is the main thing to get across, really. We're happy if we can get people to say, look, we're going to guarantee to sign up, and we have the numbers for that, we'll implement the tournament. Yeah, I mean, most recently the 12 Titans, I reckon we'd get about 25 to 30. We got 32 in total. Yeah, so we knew that was a safe bet. The 6-man's obviously is only 6 people. It's really easy, but it attracts interest because it's a high level Rocket League straight away. So again, that attracts interest as well, and it's easy for me to go and put money into my own, or put my hand into my own pocket and go, yeah, look, I'll fund that, whatever, Tinkies and Dry, obviously, and Darcy as well funding it as well. So I mean, like, we're happy to implement these ideas with tournaments. If I remember, Forehead, last year back in the V1 Rocket League, I think we had a Rumble tournament, because I remember I have a GIF somewhere on Reddit of us playing like in a Rumble tournament. If I remember, Nolan's team won it. They got to the final. he had that haymaker goal, if I remember right, to win the whole thing. So we are like open to doing these tournaments. We just need a guarantee of numbers saying, look, we will sign up if you make a Rumble tournament. We've no problem doing it. We can maybe even change it out for one of our regular tournaments, or obviously add on to them as well, depending on the numbers that we can say we're going to get.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. It is just about, it needs, basically, it's not even about, we're not necessarily going to do a survey every single time we have a different idea, but it'd be nice to have some sort of assurance. If it's a good enough idea, we'll run with it and we'll see if we can make it happen. But at the end of the day, basically, to summarize, it comes down to time as well. We are just essentially some volunteers. We have other jobs and commitments and school and whatever else. So it's not always going to be easy to find the time to do all this, but it's pretty good fun and it's pretty rewarding. So that's been our piece on tournaments, really. Basically, I'd say that the life and soul of Rocket League to some extent. Not 100%, but for the most part. I don't really have anything more to add. Enwrong, is there anything else you'd like to say before we close off?
No, just keep signing up, guys. Keep coming along with ideas, suggestions, feedback from the tournaments as well. We're always happy to take it. Always approach us with that kind of stuff, because that's what we're there for. Especially us ops and mods, because we're the guys to come to with that, and we can relay that in our own chats to each other, etc. It's the feedback that helps at the end of the day. So just tell us what's up. Is there anything we can improve on, etc. And we'll come back to you with some, feedback to what your feedback is, essentially. And yeah, we can always do stuff based off of that, but just keep signing up. That's the main thing. If you keep the numbers for tournaments high, we can keep putting our hands into our pockets, keep funding the tournaments, and keep the professionalism behind the tournaments going, which will in turn help with other things in the future, i.e. better, bigger online tournaments, and of course LANs.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, basically, the more we hear from you, the better we can make the tournament. And of course, the more numbers that sign up, the better it looks. So, yeah, that's about it. Apologies for the odd banging from time to time. I am recording this during the middle of, the whole snowstorm that's been hitting Ireland and, well, definitely Dublin, but I'm sure all of Ireland. So yeah, apologies if you heard some banging or some wind from time to time. But that is going to be us for this podcast. So as usual, thank you very, very much for listening. I know it's gone on a while, but this is us signing off, and hopefully you'll hear us in the next one. Bye bye.
Bye bye.